in Iran. I do want to tell you, though, that we shouldn't lose sight of some of the really wonderful things that are happening in Israel. When Roth Kiefer and I spoke a little bit about my remarks, I wanted to spend a lot of time, reminding all of us what Israel brings to the rest of the world. And to remind all of us that our computers, our telecommunications devices, our medical cabinets, our bookshelves, all the produce that we enjoy from agricultural fields around the world are directly or derivatively the product of Israeli ingenuity, Israeli engineering, the intellectual property that's produced in this phenomenal country. Alongside, Israel has serious domestic problems. There were Facebook pictures posted of a woman who sort of reminded many of us here in the United States of what we had with Abu Ghraib. Not quite as serious, but certainly something you wouldn't want to see. There's a big backlash against some of the universities who have numbers of faculty that have signed on to documents agitating for the boycott of Israel and what are the limits and boundaries of academic freedom on campus. There was a bit of a scandal surrounding the appointment of the new chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. They just announced this morning that Major General Gallant will be replacing General Ashkenazi, whose term ends at the end of the year. These are things that every country deals with. Israel does it in a very open, transparent way, and it's important for us to know because we're going to be asked. And there are going to be a lot of gainsayers who want to say bad things about Israel, who bring up these points. And I say, let's learn about them. Let's put them out there on the table, and let's put them out there on the table alongside with other incredible news. Today, Renault also announced that it was going to launch the Better Place, the electric car initiative in Israel. It's funny, because one of the first jokes I ever heard, I was probably the age of some of the younger members of this audience, was about an international agriculture conference. And some Texas farmer was just out there bragging about the size of his ranch. He goes, I wake up in the morning, I get in my car, forgive my southern accent.
Texas is not the South.
But he thought it was. So Texas accent saying, I drive. I stop for lunch, I have myself a real big steak. I get back in my car, I drive till sunset. And I still don't get to the end of my ranch. The Israeli farmer looks at him and says, you know something? I used to have a car just like this one. It's a very different country now. And the irony of that joke is that not only Israel actually made a couple of little cars in the 60s called the Susita and the Kalmedita.